Okay guys, welcome back to the farm. Don't mind how sweaty I am. It's super humid today. But it's been a couple days without a video, so I figured I'd kind of update you guys a little bit on what we've all been doing. First off, I've been working a little bit on the 5020 V12. I'll start by showing you the old air cleaner mounts. So here's what we got here. It's basically a box tube with a lot of plates on it, some C-channel that he had mounted up here with 3 bolts. And it just looked real clumsy, and time permitting, I wanted to get rid of it before the show if I could. So I did. And now I've got, it's just a simple piece of box tube cut at a 22.5-degree angle and a 45-degree angle and made it up to the frame. And then I hand cut this piece out that will bolt on your clamps for your bracket. And I left this big hole here because when this gets mounted up where it's supposed to be, this pipe will sit right inside that hole, just like that. So those turned out pretty good. That took me roughly, I don't know, 6 hours to get those cut out, everything welded up on the tractor. And the hardest part was really positioning it to get it square to the frame and level and everything. But what made it pretty easy was this. Hold on. So this thing is probably my favorite tool that I own. This is called the Fireball Magic Square. It's basically 2 90-degree squares mounted together in the center with an Allen screw, and you can adjust these 2 blocks if you loosen this to whatever angle you need. I use this. I wish I would have left it loose, but I use this to actually get these squared up, not square, but at 135-degree angles. And then we're going to use this later on in the video, so I'll talk about it a little bit later. These tabs, these with the thumb screws on them, say you were to weld a piece of box tube, you could stick a piece of box tube in here, butt it up against the tabs, butt it up against the tabs, and then you've got a square mounting surface, and it's pretty sweet. Not sponsored by these guys. I hope to be one day, because they make some really good tools. But yeah, I threw this up here like this, up on the frame, like that, clamped it all down, and I ran it up against this box tube here, clamped it down, and then from there I could make it level, and then I welded it solid. So that turned out really good. I'm pretty happy with how these look. The welds aren't too bad. I can clean them up a little bit, and we should be looking pretty good. The other thing that we finished was the battery box, so we'll go look at that really quick. So you can see we got the other canister mounted up right here. It's not tight yet, but it's mounted on the new bracket. So basically on this battery box, what we wanted to do was make it to where if one of the batteries were shot, or if we needed to get in there with the charger, that we could do it really quick and easy. So the batteries are out right now, but just imagine they're in, because I don't want to throw them in there right now. We made this aluminum piece that slides into these slots. Just like that. And you can see there's 2 bolts right here with some wing nuts and a rubber washer. You can go ahead and tighten this down when you got your batteries in there. And then you got a piece of laminate, just a piece of wood, that'll go and sit on top of the batteries to make sure that nothing touches, nothing gets in there to mess with the terminals. And then from there, we've got another aluminum cover that slides on just like that. And this step gets put in back over here. And with a little bit of tapping, that'll get locked in place. You can go ahead and step up here, step on this tread plate if you need to. It's got some traction on it, so it's not too slick. Then you can go ahead and finish climbing up the other side of the tractor. The only other thing I want to do here is somebody in the comments said it would be nice to have a handrail. and I think that I can still incorporate one right here somehow. Just weld on a handrail, or maybe loop it up here, something to really hold on to. So that'll pretty much wrap that up. I still haven't done anything with the fan shroud, if you guys have been keeping up with this tractor, so I got to do something there. In the meantime, Jake is working on a 8430, and we're gonna go take a look at that. I'm in the process right now of making a stand for the final drives, because he's got to rebuild the final drives on the rear too. So we'll go take a look at that, see what he says, and make that stand. So this has been Jake's project for the past week and a half or so. It's got the cab top pried open. He replaced the water pump that was leaking. I think he actually rebuilt it. Let's see what else. He's working on the AC to get that working better. And you can see all the wheels and tires are off. He's switching over to a different set of cast centers. And you can see on the bottom there, that is a 1,500 pound cast weight. And each tire is going to get one. But his problem now is that the wheel bearings on this tractor are very loose. You can take a look here. They're pretty bad. So, in order to fix that problem, you got to unbolt it from here, take this whole assembly off, flip it over, and rebuild it. So, in the meantime, while we wait for Jake, he's out spraying right now, I got this pipe from Spath Welding, and it slides pretty good over this axle. We're going to make a stand. So, this pipe will go right about there. It's a little too long. Go ahead and cut that down a little bit, take an inch off of it. This pipe will slide onto here, and I'm going to make it to where it bottoms out on the axle. It's going to have a box tube here, a box tube here, and an X pattern, so that way we can take this final drive, flip it up so its axle's facing down, and then from there we can pull the internals out and rebuild it. So the other thing it's going to have is a hole with a nut welded on the outside, and that'll act as a set screw, so that way the axle can't spin. So we'll take this back over there, we'll trim up this pipe, and get that stand built. Okay, so here is really where this square shines. So we got our cross made for our feet for the stand. I told you guys about this square in the beginning of the video. We'll take this Allen set screw out. That'll take this clamp apart. We'll put this screw back in here so I don't lose it. This basically takes your angle square that you used to have, and it turns it into two regular squares. So I mentioned these tabs earlier. These tabs will come in handy right now. We're actually going to take this top one off. I'll show you why here in a second. So what's nice about these tabs, you can tighten them down and you slap them up against your material and you clamp it down. Not only does this make it square this way, but it also keeps it from rocking back and forth like this. Those tabs are, all these faces are precision ground, so everything is square to each other. You put your clamp up like that, clamp it down, and you're square up and down. Where the tab comes into play, if you put this tab back up here, now, when you slap it up against here, and say you were going to weld a piece of box tube right here, now you could reference this face to make it square like this, and put your box tube in here. Let's see if I got we'll just use this for the time being. Have this tight on the bottom, put your piece like this, bring this up here so you got something on the bottom yet. So now you're still referenced on the bottom, put this piece in here, slap it up against both of those tabs, and you're square both ways. So we're going to use this the same way. We're going to take this top tab off, We're gonna put this guy in here. Loosen this. And you can see I got white marks here. These are going to be my reference marks for where this pipe's gonna end up. So we'll put that guy there. Take a C-clamp. Get this square tight. That'll be fine like that. We'll take our second side, clamp that one down. And now, when you go and set your pipe in, just like this, now you've got two walls here. You can see that if we would have left that tab there, it wouldn't have worked out. And that's why I took it off. But now you can go ahead, I'll rotate this. We got our bolt diagonal. Looks nicer that way. And you can go ahead, got any mosquitoes in here. You can clamp that just like that, or hold it and tack it, and you'll be square. So honestly, I've been wanting to buy these squares for a while. It has made so many things easier. So we'll go ahead and clamp this down, we'll tack it up, and then I think we're gonna go and work on that 8430. Just like that, you're squared up, got some good welds all around, and you're ready to go.
And then we're gonna have to turn that gas thing there and get it half-ass lined up. Turn that down to about 6 o'clock. Keep going. That's pretty good. Keep going. A little more. Oh, shit. That's good. Right there.
Okay, so this video has been 3 days in the making, and been tied up on some other actual farm projects instead of just this stuff. But the last part of this video is going to be getting this fan shroud done. So I went ahead and I made a template. I didn't have big enough poster board to do it all in one shot, so I had to tie some pieces together. Basically made the sheet, which is the size of the radiator, and then it's got these flaps on the end, and that's what wraps around and makes the box. Made all that. We don't have a brake here at the farm yet to bend sheet metal. Hopefully we can get one. But took it out to Spathe Welding, and they made us up a box, which looks like this. Made it out of 16 gauge, basically a big box. And I went ahead and measured my center on where that should be, because if you guys have been watching, you guys know that the fan is not centered on the radiator. This engine is tilted a little bit. That's how we managed to get it squeezed in here, and so our fan's a little bit offset. I'm gonna go ahead and make a circle where the fan needs to be. We're gonna nibble that out, and I think we're gonna have to do a little bit of adjusting on it, but shouldn't be that bad, so let's knock it out. Okay, you can see where the problem's going to be. The fan is 22 inches across diameter, so that means your radius will be 11 inches. To give it a little bit of clearance, I went ahead and made the radius 11.5 inches. That's the outside circle here. That'll give us a little bit of clearance. You can see the problem is right here. So from the center, which is here, to the edge is 11 inches exactly. So I'm thinking that I'll probably end up cutting this part of the radiator, or this part of the shroud out, making a little bubble with a thin piece of metal, and that should get us by. But for now, I'm just gonna nibble this out and we'll see what we got. Okay, I'm by no means a professional TIG welder, but I got it sewed up. Looks pretty good. We've got plenty of clearance along the outside here. I can stick my finger in there, so that should be pretty good. The only problem now is we're running into a little bit of problems here. It's kind of hard. It was hard to measure what exactly I needed, just because the tank doesn't sit perfectly level this way or this way. So that was a little bit to deal with. There's a little bit of wobble back and forth, and just getting measurements off of the center and blades, and while everything was in, it was a little bit difficult. But with that aside, it's all together. This needs to drop about 1/2 inch. So I think what I'm going to do, I've got the press set up with a punch, slotted punch. We're going to punch some slots in here where these holes go. That'll give me a little bit of movement up and down. I'm also going to take this top rib, or this top ear, this flap, and trim about probably 1 inch off of that, so there's no problems there. And that'll give me a lot more freedom as far as movement goes. I can get it exactly where I want to. Another problem, you guys can see right down in here. Let me zoom in for you. We're going to run into that bottom pulley here pretty soon, especially with moving this down 1/2 inch to get the fan center. So we're going to have to notch that out, cut it out, patch it in like we did on the side. It's the same thing over here. This is harder to see. Under this radiator is a pipe that comes off the bottom of the radiator and hooks into the water pump. I'm going to notch that out so you can actually get in there and tighten up the hose clamp, because right now you can't. So let's get her back out. We'll do some cutting, some punching, and give her another fit. Okay, so we got this welded up. This will be the cutout for the bottom pulley that goes up to the fans. This cuts out and goes around that. It's a little dramatic. I didn't really have to do it quite like this, but now I know for sure that when I drop this, it'll clear that balancer. The next thing you can see is that this filler neck is in the way. And I've still got to go about 1/2 inch down with this radiator to line everything up. So really what needs to happen is this whole corner needs to go in order to be able to get down and tighten your hose clamps. So I think I'm going to come right about here, about 1 inch or so away from that pipe, make a sweeping curve, end up somewhere over here, make this into a nice curve, like that maybe, or that, or something like that, somewhere in there. That'll give me enough room to slide it down, and it'll also give me the room to get in there and work on it. And really, I doubt this fan will pull that much from the bottom corner of the radiator, so we're not going to lose a whole lot of efficiency. Most of the air is going to be pulled right through the center where the fan is. So you guys saw how I did this. It's pretty much the same thing, so I'm going to skip ahead, and next thing you'll see is it in the tractor, and we'll see if we did a good enough job. Okay, we got her back in. Let me show you what I did. So you guys saw the cutout for that pulley down there. It's all back in now. It's not all hooked up, but I wanted to show you guys this before I did hook it up. So here's my cutout for this bottom pipe, and you can see here I can fit my whole hand down here now to put this hose on and get to my hose clamps. That's the bottom pipe for the radiator. So yeah, pretty happy with how that turned out. went from a box to a shroud, and all the way around that fan's got about ½ an inch of clearance. It gets a little tighter right in here, but it should be just fine. So yeah. Well, it's getting late in the shop. Mosquitoes are coming out, and I'm about done for the day. So sorry for the hodgepodgeness of this video. We've been doing a lot, farming stuff, tractor stuff, but it's just been kind of scattered and crazy. So anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you later.